We've also been offering unlimited fruits and vegetables to our students so that students who may not have money in their lunch account can always still fill their bellies. And no matter what the lunch account says, they still can have fruits and vegetables as long as they've purchased a meal with us that day. So that's one way that we're increasing intake of fruits and vegetables and helping students to adjust their hunger cues with healthy choices.
I was meeting with some of the leaders at this school district last night, and I mentioned that to them, and their eyes just got so big, like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Like, how are they doing that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. It's not common, I would say. We're still trying to figure out how this year we started to try to quantify how much produce was actually walking out the door because you think students will self-regulate, fruits and vegetables. But we were interested to see that almost 10,000 servings of fruits and vegetables have been served thus far throughout the school year beyond what's being served on the school lunch.
Hey, y'all, it's Jolly with Interrupt Hunger's Movie Give podcast. I'm here to help you get back to your roots and live like our ancestors did, before ultra processed foods poisoned us and before technology trapped us in sedentary, isolated lives. I interview experts in exercise, nutrition, and food insecurity, people who've transformed their lives through healthy habits, and community health champions building healthier communities, all to discover exactly how they did it and share those strategies with you. Our goal? Take these proven methods back to Boerne and make it the healthiest small town in Texas. Then share our blueprint to create healthy small towns all across this incredible country. Before we get to today's guests, here's how our Donate Your Weight program helps you celebrate weight loss victories, whether you're going solo or joining a team challenge. If you've ever said, I know what I need to do to lose weight, I just need to do it, then this challenge is for you. We help you turn your knowing into doing. The Interrupt Hunger 12-Week Weight Loss Challenge is a plan to help you lose weight by creating healthy habits in a fun and easy way. While you create new habits, we use compassion and community to help you stay motivated long enough for your new habits to stick. Bring the 12-Week Weight Loss Challenge to the places you live, work, and pray. Once a week, come together to exercise as a team in your neighborhood or at a local park. Then, once a month, come together to give back to your community by volunteering at a local food bank, food pantry, or soup kitchen. And finally, once a month, donate your weight to celebrate your weight loss victories. Donate at least $1 for every pound you lose to help fight hunger. 100% of proceeds benefit a food pantry in your area. You already know exercise makes you feel better. You already know the difference between healthy and unhealthy eating. And you already know it feels really good to give back. The Interrupt Hunger 12-Week Weight Loss Challenge helps you to be intentional about how you move, eat, and give, and helps you turn your knowing into doing. Visit interrupthunger.org to join as an individual or start a team. Contact us with any questions. We're always happy to chat. Hey, y'all, it's Jolly with Interrupt Hunger's Movie Give podcast. Thanks so much for joining us again. We've got Marissa Bell, registered dietitian, with us today. Marissa, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Very good. So let's just tell the folks about you a little bit. So you've got a bachelor's in nutritional science, minor in horticulture for Texas A&M, master's of public health and health promotion education from UT Health Science Center in Houston. And you are, in your own words, you're dedicated to fostering a sustainable food system that promotes healthy lifestyle behaviors, supports local economies, and protects environmental health. Marissa currently serves as a dietitian and marketing coordinator at Lake Travis Independent School District. And in this role, she oversees meal accommodations for students with special dietary needs, manages marketing promotions, implements farm-to-school initiatives. We love that. And provides nutrition education across 11 schools serving over 11,000 students. And you find purpose in initiatives that nourish both kids and communities, and also serves on the Austin Travis County Food Policy Board, collaborating with community leaders to drive food system change in schools, cafeterias, and beyond. I love all that. So you handle nutrition at Lake Travis Independent School District. So first of all, why don't you tell us about Lake Travis?
Yeah. So Lake Travis ISD is a school district in Lakeway, Texas, which is about 30 minutes west of Austin. And we have 11 schools. We have 7 elementary schools. We have 3 middle schools and 1 high school. And we're a bit unique because we operate the National School Lunch Program and breakfast programs only at our elementary schools. So we do not operate those programs at our middle and high schools. And typically what that means is that the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs are what allow schools to be able to extend free and reduced price meal benefits for students. And so we, though, still make sure that we're extending those benefits to students at the middle and high schools. We just subsidize that cost ourselves. So we're not receiving any federal reimbursement at the middle and high school level.
That is interesting. I haven't heard of another school like that.
Yeah, it's very unique. We have about 11,000 students in our school district, and about 11% of our schools, 11% of our student population qualifies for free and reduced price meals. So it's a relatively low need area, pretty high income as in terms of need. And then we also spend about $3 million a year on food for our students, which to me is a really interesting metric because you can imagine the impact that that dollar amount can have when you use it wisely and you spend it on certain things to support your community or the environment, for example. So we think about those things when we're spending our dollars and how that can support our broader community and our environment.
So this is, I'm just kind of shocked that I've never thought to ask other school districts or our own here in Boerne, like how much we spend on food. That's such an important metric that it just haven't occurred to me yet. So thanks for that. I'll start, digging in as I'm talking to people and our own leadership here in Boerne. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all are in a more affluent area because in Boerne we're about the same size. We're right at 11,000 students as well, but we're just under 20% free and reduced school lunch. So the other reason, besides your credentials and experience, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a little bit, and you and your team at Lake Travis Independent School District have just done some really, really neat stuff. And not just within the school district, you're on the Food Policy Council as well. So I started reaching out to you for just some questions as we're trying to, make our little small town here in Boerne the healthiest small town in Texas. I know we've got some competition, but a few months ago, you helped us out a lot and give us some ideas and directions and what we might try to accomplish and some low-hanging fruit and just kind of get our gears spinning and put us on the right direction. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So let's start off by saying really your education and your experience. So between gardening, nutrition, and public health, it's just a really good collection of interests that really make you seem built for a role in school nutrition. Where does love of helping others get healthy come from? And like what drives you to come up with all these really creative ideas to help kids?
Thanks for asking. That's a really great question. I'll say that my journey with farm to school really started in my college years. I went to Texas A&M, as you mentioned, for my bachelor's in nutrition sciences. And Texas A&M is an agricultural school. So they had a student farm on campus, a sustainable, small organic 1-acre student-run farm operation. And while I was there studying nutrition, I quickly found my way to that student farm, which is what inspired me to start studying horticulture because I started to learn alongside my classmates about how the health of the soil really influences the health of our foods and the health of our environments. And so I ended up becoming the president of the Sustainable Student Agriculture Student Association there. But I brought this nutrition lens into a world of fruit and veggie producers, horticulture students. With this nutrition lens, I started forming partnerships with schools in College Station and bringing the students from the schools to our farm on campus for field trips. And then we would bring the farm to the school and we would talk to them about what fruits and veggies look like, where they grow, how they grow, the benefits of them nutritionally. And I saw that spark of curiosity in a student about fruits and vegetables in a way that you just don't see the light in their eyes in the same way when you tell them that it's good for them or just eat it because it's good for you. They get this curiosity and excitement about it. And so that's really where my love for using gardening and agriculture as a nutrition education tool came from and felt like a very natural fit to go into school nutrition for that reason. And then I also saw the community benefits. Harvesting food alongside my colleagues made me more interested and more excited to eat healthfully myself. And then it gave me a sense of place and purpose in my community that you just don't get elsewhere. And so bringing that sense of place to our students, I think is really important to also inspire them to eat and to adopt healthy eating behaviors.
So we've teased on this a little bit that y'all are doing some pretty neat creative, unique things to get kids healthy. And if you just went down a like a laundry list of ideas, y'all have already started tackling a lot of them. And you've been there, how long you been there? 4 years? 5?
This is my fifth year.
5 years. Okay. All right. So, like, why don't you paint a picture? This is kind of a big question, but like, paint a picture of what like healthy nutrition looks like at Lake Travis.
Sure. So, over the last 5 years, I'll say that before I was here, we'd been doing farm to school work. I say we. Prior to my time here at Lake Travis ISD, farm to school was happening, but it looked a little bit different. We've always had, I say always, the folks before me had been purchasing local items to serve in our cafeterias and to use them as education tools for our students. But I think what really changed in the last 5 years is that we started to really take a systems level thinking approach to how our purchases and our impact can have a greater impact in our community. And that really came along with like the COVID supply chain shortages, I would say. We had a time where we had this really shared experience among community members. Everybody had experienced COVID supply chain shortages and empty grocery store shelves. And so through that, we've also seen that in our community in Travis County, that less than half of our, less than 1% of the food that we eat in Travis County is actually produced locally, and that we're losing 17 acres of farmland a day due to development. So um, this has all kind of come to light in the last 5 years. And so we started thinking about how we can really use our school public funded dollars to help solve that problem and bring healthier food to our students. So we've been, over the last 5 years, forming a lot of community partnerships with mission aligned local nonprofits like the Sustainable Food Center in Austin. We've also partnered with the Central Texas Food Bank, and we started going down having um, I'd say we're helping to create a new distribution channel for some of these local farmers to access institutional markets and to sell into our schools. And so that's one of the things we've been doing this past year is incubating what I'd call a food hub in partnership with the Central Texas Food Bank. And we can talk more about that, but that's probably one of our biggest things that has evolved over the last 5 years. We've also been offering unlimited fruits and vegetables to our students so that students who may not have money in their lunch account can always still fill their bellies. And no matter what the lunch account says, they still can have fruits and vegetables as long as they've purchased a meal with us that day. So that's one way that we're increasing intake of fruits and vegetables and helping students to address their hunger cues with healthy choices.
I was meeting with some of the leaders at this school district last night, and I mentioned that to them, and their eyes just got so big, like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic! Like, how are they doing that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. It's not common, I would say. We're still trying to figure out how this year we started to try to quantify how much produce was actually walking out the door because you think students will self-regulate, fruits and vegetables. But we were interested to see that almost 10,000 servings of fruits and vegetables have been served thus far throughout the school year beyond what's being served on the school lunch tray. So on the one hand, I mean, my gosh, how many servings of fruits and vegetables are students getting that may not otherwise? And those are fruit and veggie servings that those students are by choice taking and they're coming back for, which is really fascinating.
And so this program, they pick out their lunch, they pay for it, and then they get the unlimited fruits and vegetables. So like 10,000
Yes.
servings above what their meal is. That's incredible.
Yes. Yes. It's really exciting.
Oh, go
Yeah. And
figure.
then,
Kids like fruits and vegetables.
right. Exactly. It's exciting. I mean, when you give them autonomy and choice, and yeah, often it's a student coming back for maybe they want to buy a snack or a bag of chips and they may not have the money in their lunch account. And we are able to say, hey, little Johnny, you may not have what you need to purchase this today, but would you like an extra fruit or vegetable? And so oftentimes that's the conversation and they can say no, but they often say yes.
Are they encouraged? Do school staff like encourage them instead of getting stacks? Are they able to do that? Like kind of direct them to this, what do you call it? The unlimited fruits and vegetables? What do you call that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. We do advertise that they have to take at least one fruit or vegetable to make a complete meal to get charged the meal price. But we do advertise that it is an initiative of ours that they can select more than just the one. They can, keep
That's so
stacking
cool.
them up. Yeah. It's often a verbal prompt, especially with our young students, when we just say, hey, would you like to have a fruit or vegetable instead if they don't have money in the lunch
Oh,
account for
that's
something
wonderful.
else.
How easy. Yeah. So why don't you dive into the food hub? Because I've only recently learned about that.
Yeah, sure things. About 2 years ago, we received some grant funds called Local Food for Schools grant. You may be familiar, where they're pretty much local food purchasing incentives from that came down from the federal government. It was allocated to the states. And so through our state, we were able to opt in for those funds. We received about $99,000 to spend on minimally processed, locally produced foods. And so a group of us in Central Texas, a group of schools in Central Texas have been convening for the last couple of years to kind of strategize around, getting more local food in schools and what the barriers are to doing so. And some of those were what I mentioned earlier about the fact that we're losing farmland and cost of land is increasing. Doesn't seem to be within the scope of our control, but is definitely something to consider when we're purchasing local food. But we also had distribution challenges. And so we learned that we all had this collective experience where we're able to get Texas grown produce from maybe larger farms down in the Rio Grande Valley or maybe in the Panhandle or further outside of Travis County city limit or county limits. But we're really missing the farmers down the road. And so if we're losing farmland and we can't support the farmers down the road, what can we do about that? And we were trying to get the product to our door. And so these small farmers down the road, they don't necessarily have the capacity to bring the food to all 11 of our kitchen delivery sites. So at Lake Travis, we don't have a central delivery location where we can receive a delivery and redistribute ourselves. So it was important for us to try to get that product to all of our doors. And so we have been partnering with the Central Texas Food Bank to really be the logistics and distribution solution for that problem. So they've been, it's been on their radar to try to address and solve some upstream barriers to food access. And so when we can invest in a regional food economy, that helps to make sure that all people have equitable access to fresh products. And so they have the logistics and the distribution infrastructure to be able to help solve that problem. And so we've been trying to put our heads together over the last year and figure out, can we partner and figure out how to make this work?
I love this. Is such a beautiful example. And the more examples I hear, the more it reinforces. Several nonprofit leaders have told me, like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Figure out other organizations that are going in the same direction as you and see how you can work together. And like, that is such a beautiful example of what y'all are doing there. It's not just one school district, but you're part, your conversation with other school districts, and you don't have a central kitchen, which most don't. And so you're like, you've got this money, you had an idea, and y'all figured out a way just by partnering, collaboration, and strengthening relationships. And that's just fantastic.
Thanks. And I'll say as well that, a lot of our farmers in Travis County are working on small acreage. So one farmer may not be able to supply enough product for even a single school district, much less multiple. And so one thing we've been able to do through the Central Texas Food Bank's partnership is to aggregate supply to meet institutional demand. And so we've been able to figure out how many, for example, we've focused on carrots as our pilot product to do this, but we were able to figure out how much carrots school district A, B, and C would need throughout the year and how often. And they were able to go partner with farmers and figure out who would be willing to grow those carrots in that amount. And we're able to supply the institutional volume that was needed that maybe just one farmer couldn't.
If there's been any new expansion of any new farms started or expansion of farms because of this? Because I got a couple friends that are into farming up in Dallas, and they're just doing like the neatest stuff, like collaborating and trying to, figure out ways to get food into food deserts, and just like collaborating, like, and adding partners all the time, whether it's public, private, or shipping produce from South Dallas up to North Dallas, and, getting fresh produce for food deserts down in South Dallas. And that's just, the simplicity of this model is, it's just, anybody can do it in any location around the country. And it benefits the kids because you're getting fresh produce, locally grown. And so the transportation issues are minimum. They don't have to go like days or a week and a half since, produce has been picked. That's pretty darn close to just in time. But then also you're helping the local agricultural economy, which is just fantastic. I love this. Yeah, this is neat stuff.
It seems like it would be scalable. So part of the idea is that if we can figure out how to prove this model with a food bank, there's a whole food bank network not only statewide, but nationwide. And so could that be replicated? Sometimes food hubs are incubated in food banks, but it would be really neat to see this idea spread statewide to the distribution network of all food banks in Texas.
So my next episode's going to drop. Clancy Harrison with Food Dignity up in Pennsylvania. She's doing this for food banks, and she's found a local farmer that's aggregating produce that would either have to be thrown away by these farms or given away. Either way, they're losing money, and so this way she's like buying it, and they're able to grow their business. They're able to count on how much she's going to buy and then filter that out to I don't know how many nonprofits and food pantries she works with, but it's the same premise. This is a great model. I love this. All right. So a lot of school districts, let's just assume somebody's starting from scratch. Maybe they have their own staff doing it. Maybe they have a vendor, but some number of folks within the community want to start improving the health and creating a healthier environment for our students in the community around there. You're going to get a lot of pushback in the beginning because it's something new. So what kind of obstacles have y'all faced, or maybe things were trending in the right direction when you first got there, but I'm sure y'all have faced some obstacles. Is there anything that stands out, and maybe share how y'all are able to navigate some of these big obstacles that have popped up?
Sure thing. I think one of the biggest obstacles is just gaining buy-in for the higher cost products. For example, so we had to really shift our mentality from like a bottom line mentality to more of a best value mentality. And so knowing that bottom line is very important for running a successful food service operation, but thinking about are we able to use these higher cost, maybe local produce items to market our program, increase our sales, to increase access to fruits and vegetables, to increase engagement and get students excited about eating them? And so part of what has helped us with that is our participation in the Good Food Purchasing Program. So we do participate in that program, and it's really taught us how to really align our food purchases with our values, and thinking about how we can utilize our purchasing practices and within the procurement regulations that we have to follow to get the best value out of our product. So realizing that cost may need to be the biggest factor in our decision. It doesn't have to be the only factor in our decision. And kind of reframing that has been a couple years long process, I would say. But we've had a lot of staff turnover. We've had a lot of leadership turnover. I think that was probably a big obstacle for us. But having those values to point back to and say, this is who we are, this is why we do what we do, and keeping those top of mind and helping to use that through those transitions, I think really helped us to get past that, and then to really lean into this identity of, we're here for the students. We do it because it's healthy, it's good, and we love getting creative and figuring out how to make it happen. Creativity loves constraints, so give us a constraint, we'll be creative within it.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's neat. Tell me about that program real quick, if you could. What was it? Good Food Purchasing?
Yeah, it's the Good Food Purchasing Program. And the Center for Good Food Purchasing is a national nonprofit who pretty much puts out this standards-based purchasing framework. And so they help guide you through how to purchase your foods within regulations to meet certain values. They say, for example, our goal would be to purchase a minimum of 15% of our products from local vendors, and they help us analyze the data. They sit with us annually to assess all of our food purchases and where all of our dollars are going, and seeing how we're tracking on that metric. For example, they have certain standards and metrics for assessing the nutrition of your foods in your schools. And so they have a nutrition checklist. And so we can see how we're tracking year to year on that. And they go as far as to say, what's the carbon footprint of your menu? And we have worked with them to say, okay, where can we either bring in, proteins that may be better for the environment in terms of how they're produced, or how can we reduce the amount of menu items on our menu that are meat-based, for example.
So we mentioned in the beginning, Lake Travis is on the more affluent side. If y'all only have 10% free and reduced school lunch. So how with these new programs and a healthier environment that you've created, more fresh produce, how much have y'all been able to stay within current budget constraints, or have you been able to build support to grow your budget as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'd actually say that although we are a more affluent district, we still have very similar budget constraints to most school districts, especially because we are subsidizing our own meals at the middle and high school level. So for those meals where we're giving them away for a free or reduced price at our middle and high schools, we're not receiving any federal reimbursement. It's a complete, we're spending money on the food and we're not receiving any revenue for those meals. So we have to make up for those costs in other ways. And so in some ways, I'd say we can be tighter. And so we have had to look at streamlining our options, for example, to say, okay, maybe we offer unlimited fruits and vegetables, but we can't have the variety that we used to have so that we can make sure that we're reducing waste and keeping tight inventory to make sure that we're using what we go through. We've created a complete your plate station at the high school level. We're piloting that this year where students can top their plate with the unlimited fruits and vegetables in a salad bar style at the high school level. And one way we've been able to reduce costs there is to divert some product from our middle and elementary schools that would otherwise go to waste. And we pull that product up to the high school and we say, okay, it can be served out here. Or we utilize what's called DoD funds, entitlement dollars from the government that we can spend on local or on produce, I should say. And that's a free to us. And so when we use those funds to put towards more fruits and vegetables, we can reduce costs that way too. So those are some strategies that we've used to bring these options to our students. We definitely are looking at, okay, where's the bottom line? How are we managing costs here? It has to make sense for everyone.
Yeah, sure. So so I guess just a straightforward question would be like kids eating healthier now than they were, say, 5 years ago. And like, how do you measure that? What kind of metrics have y'all used to say like, are our kids like healthier now?
Yeah, that's a great question again. I was thinking about that myself. How do you measure this success? Because, and a lot of times I'd say at this point it's anecdotal. Seeing how the students engage with and talk about healthy foods, I think is our biggest metric of success. I can tell you 5 years ago when I started and I asked students what the word local meant or why it was important to eat locally. No one could tell me what it means. And now I can walk into any classroom on any campus and the students can tell me what local is, what it means, what are the benefits, that it's more flavorful, it can be more nutritious because it's traveling a shorter distance. And to me, that's been probably one of the biggest metrics of success because they're really absorbing that knowledge. I'd say too that we're starting to track the amount of servings of those extra fruits and vegetables we're selling or serving, I should say. We're not selling them. They're going out to our students for free. By tracking that number, we'll be able to start kind of seeing this impact our students taking more fruits and vegetables, for example. So we are able to use our software systems and our POS buttons to see how many times that button's been pressed, for example. So we're trying to build in those metrics now. But for now, I'd say it's primarily anecdotal. I can share another story about we did an event once it was a farmers market style taste test where all students had an opportunity to sample fresh fruits and vegetables. And at lunchtime, we bring them up table by table to our little display booth, and they get to see what the produce looks like in its whole form, like they'd see it at the farmers market or at the grocery store. And then they get a cut up sample, and then they all get to try it together. And I get on the microphone and I talk about it with them. And after one of those events, one night I was shopping in the community at the grocery store, and I had a student run up behind me and jump right up in front of me. And she said, "Hey, I know you. I talked to you today, and we tried fruits and vegetables." And she said, "Guess what?" And I said, "What?" She said, "I'm here with my mom to buy sugar snap peas because I tried them earlier today and I loved them."
Oh my
And so
gosh,
she
that's so
went
cool.
straight home and she told her parent to bring her to the store and get me some darn sugar snap peas. And I think that's been my biggest metric of success is, seeing that domino effect in the community.
Oh my gosh, you didn't happen to get to talk to her parents then at the store, did you?
No, I know she was on the other aisle.
That would have been so cool. Like that
I
must have
know.
made you feel just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what keeps me going.
That's really cool. I think a lot of school districts will face similar type pushback when they want to start saying like, "Hey, let's work on a farm to school program, or let's work on some type of new program. Maybe it's salad bars or something." I think you'll frequently hear like kids don't want to eat the healthier stuff, and we don't want kids to go home hungry. Like that's our worst fear. What would you say to someone like that? How?
Yeah, so I would definitely say sparking curiosity is really important in school nutrition so that students are inherently selecting and excited to select the healthier options. I do think that in school nutrition we are challenged in the sense that we students want what they get at home. And so we often find that chicken nuggets are familiar to students. That's what they want. They do want a chicken nugget. But how can we take that and responsibly create a healthier food environment? And so it's similar to when you're introducing foods with a newborn or toddler, you want to offer familiar foods alongside those healthier options so that they become less unfamiliar. And so um, our strategy is to make sure that students have familiar options available, but they also have these new and maybe unfamiliar, uncomfortable foods available too that we can integrate together. And so, yeah, that's our strategy.
I love that. So another thing, a recent thing y'all had just a couple of days ago, your big like synchronized crunch, which I just loved. And I love the idea. And I'll let you explain it. But the other thing I loved is I saw a picture of you up on stage and you just had the biggest smile on your face. And like you drew all the kids in. The kids looked excited. They were all smiling and laughing. So tell us about the synchronized crunch and how that came to be.
So last Friday was Texas Fruit and Vegetable Day. It's a newish holiday. Last year was the first Texas Fruit and Vegetable Day. This is our second Texas Fruit and Vegetable Day. And so to celebrate, we had a synchronized carrot crunch for one of our elementary schools. And we purchased local organic carrots through the Central Texas Food Hub, and we got those delivered and we cut those up, and every student got 2 or 3 carrot sticks. And we passed out those samples to everyone at each lunch period. And we had our little display booth, and we had a balloon arch with carrot balloons, and we had a carrot banner, and we had carrot facts all along the lunch line so that the students could walk through the lunch line and see and read all about carrots and their benefits and how they grow. And so we're just hitting them with facts all over the place and getting them excited about carrots. And then pretty much invited them all table by table after they went through the lunch line the first time and got all their lunch. And they're all seated and eating. We invite them to come grab a sample. And then I told them, save your sample, save your sample. We're going to honor our local farmers today, and we're going to celebrate healthy eating, and we're going to do a synchronized crunch. And so we did a countdown, a 3, 2, 1, and all the students crunched all at the same time in celebration of healthy eating and to honor our local farmers, which was really, really fun. And it got them engaged and excited. And I had stickers in my pocket, carrot stickers that I would pass out to students who answered my questions about, what fun facts did you read on the lunch line? How did carrots grow? What does local mean? How does this taste to you? And I put the kids on the microphone. And so they're excited to get on the
Oh, yeah, of
microphone.
course, in front of their friends, sure.
Yep, exactly. So they get to know and they get to share. And so that is also kind of peer learning too. So if they say it, that might be better received than if I'm saying it. So we all get a chance to learn from each other. And it was a really fun event. I would definitely recommend doing a carrot crunch.
That sounds like so much fun. So how often are you interacting with the kids? Like these, whether it's like nutrition facts or things that just building nutrition knowledge for kids, how much of that interaction happens in your district?
Yeah, so I develop a lot of passive nutrition education materials for our students to display in the cafeteria. We have I would say that we consider our cafeteria like a learning lab or an extension of the classroom. And so I really try to get as much education materials as we can in a passive way while they're making those decisions in the lunch line, and they're reading about, certain fruits and vegetables or the colors and the vitamins that the colors provide, so they can say, I have a cut. Maybe I want to grab a leafy green today because it's good for my healing. So we create those opportunities. I say pretty consistently, those are always in the cafeteria. As far as those hands-on activities, I'd say once a month to once a quarter, depending on capacity right now. So we used to partner with our local produce vendor who would come out about once a month with us and help me kind of cut all those vegetables for all the 700 students at an elementary school. And so that allowed me to be out there much more frequently. And so now I'm doing it by myself. So I have to kind of wait until I have a student or a dietetic intern to come help me do those types of events. But yeah, I'd say I'd like to be out there a lot more. My goal is once a month.
Okay. Oh, that's a good goal. So here's
Yeah.
another goal, something I've been thinking about as we like start digging into healthy environments at our elementary school and high school is like, is there any opportunity to reach the parents as well? And hopefully you get the kids excited enough that they run home and tell their parents like, "Hey, I tried sugar snap peas," and you get to the parents that way. But have you seen any other success getting to the parents?
Yes, we started a school health advisory council wellness newsletter a few years ago. And so quarterly, I write a newsletter article that goes out district wide to all of our parents. And we get input from a physical activity representative in the district. We get our health and social emotional learning director involved. I write an article, and so it's kind of this whole student wellness approach. And we each write an article from our respective specialties, and we distribute that. And so that's been helpful. Also, I've been working on trying to form more partnerships with on-campus PTAs, PTOs, and like school garden committees, for example. So that's probably on my radar as one of the things that I think we could be working on, and finding those parent advocates at the school level who are going to help and support and provide that capacity that maybe I don't have as an individual. But identify those parents, definitely.
Yeah, just good because I mean, everyone is limited on staff, limited on budget. And of course, there's so many things you'd want to do if you had time and money, but I think that's a fantastic resource. I mean, there's a ton of parents that are going to be like so crazy, stressful jobs and after school activities with kids, but there's others that are like primed to hear this message and like I'm sure would be ecstatic to like, hey, we got this cool need over here. Like, would you like to help? Like those parents are out
Yes,
there.
they are out there. And our goal next year, so this year we went and spoke to all the PTA presidents and we presented about what we're doing in our food nutrition program and with the hope that they would then take that out to their campus PTAs. But next year, our goal is to go to present to each of the campus level ones where the parents are present. And so we're slowly but surely trying to get in front of and tell our story and identify those community partners because I think collaboration is it leads to innovation and it
It
helps.
happens.
Yeah, it's where the magic happens.
Are y'all doing anything with hydroponics?
Yes, we are. Funny you should ask. I had my first harvest yesterday.
No good. Oh, what did you
Yeah.
harvest? That's exciting.
Yeah, we did lettuce. We've got basil growing too. It wasn't quite ready yet, but we got a Lake Travis Education Foundation grant through our school district we purchased a single hydroponic flex farm and it's through Fork Farms, I believe. And they have a K through 12 curriculum that we can utilize, but we haven't tapped into that yet. We've been piloting it up here at our school office, our central administration office, so we know how to maintenance it and so we can guide people once it's in their cafeterias on how to maintenance it. So we had the pilot run this week or this last couple weeks, and we just did our harvest yesterday. And yep, we got some lettuce. And the goal is going to be to rotate that unit between campuses, between growing cycles. So it takes about 30 days to grow a full growing cycle. The students will be able to participate. We'll partner with teachers in the classroom to get the students to come help plant the seeds and transplant them into the unit. And then they have curriculum that can go along with that. And then we'll have it growing next to the lunch line so the students can see exactly, how their lettuce is growing on the lunch line. We work with a local hydroponic farm called True Harvest for all of our lettuce. And so all of our lettuce is actually hydroponically grown. So they'll get to learn what that process is like and how their food grows and where it comes from. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
It's so cool. I love that. So that system's a pretty decent size, and you can get a decent harvest. There's desktops and then much larger ones. It's on the larger side. So like one harvest from that, like is that like one day's worth of lettuce, or how much are y'all able to get, or do you even know at this point yet?
My high level estimate, Jolly, is that it's gonna probably get us through about 2 to 3 weeks in the school campus at the elementary level, at least. I think we go through more lettuce at our middle and high schools because we do have salad bars there. At the elementary level, we're still pre-boxing those salads for them since they have a hard time managing the salad bar. But in those salad bowls, I think we do that and we serve little side salads on the lunch line. And so that could probably get us through 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a lot, actually. Yeah. How many elementary schools do you have?
We have 7.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, that would be for one campus.
Okay, got it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the campus who will be housing the unit and
that's
watching
right.
it grow.
Yeah. But still, that's a lot. So if you're trying to change things and you have people come and go, instead of having to reteach and relearn and get buy-in again, you recommended to try to change policy so that you can just fall back to the policy. Hey, this is policy. So we need to figure out how to make it work. And one of the specific examples you gave me is like getting broccoli on the lunch trays in exchange for taking the French fries off. And I think you said the fries are still available, but they don't automatically come with the meal, and they're now on the a la carte menu. And by the way, we increased the price to encourage them to eat healthier food like broccoli. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So we've been trying really hard to do some strategic pricing strategies to help encourage and incentivize the purchase of healthier food options. So what that looks like is this past year at our elementary level, we increased the cost of ice cream by 25 cents and we decreased the cost of a serving of fruit and vegetables by 25 cents. So we displaced that dollar amount. And that then helps. They used to be each a dollar. And so now you're going to be more incentivized to purchase the healthier food options. So strategic placement on the lunch line, as well as strategic pricing, are ways that we can help encourage those healthier choices as well. You mentioned the French fries, and that was, this is a personal passion of mine, but when I first arrived here, we would always serve French fries with almost every meal, it looked like, at our high school level, because we aren't on the National School Lunch Program, so we're not required to follow the nutrition guidelines that come along with that. And so we fell into that, what are the students wanting and what are they going to buy? And that's what we're going to serve because that's going to increase our sales. And so after having sat back and observed, my perception is that the students will still buy French fries, whether or not they come with the meal or they're sold a la carte as an extra. And so part of our team's strategy this year is to try to only offer French fries one day a week as part of the meal. The rest of the time they can be served every day, but they can be served a la carte as an extra item, price them accordingly. And then that allows us to serve and say, hey, for the meal price, you're getting a balanced nutritional meal with a fruit or like fruits and vegetables as your sides. And so now our plate looks a lot different. Students still have that option. We're not taking away that sense of autonomy or anything, but we have both now. So it's that strategy to try to create healthier food environments.
Strategic pricing. I like that. Are there any other policy changes that y'all have gone through that you might recommend someone try to tackle?
Yeah, we haven't gone through it yet, but what we plan to do this summer is to update our procurement manual. So we have this is what guides all of our purchasing decisions in our food and nutrition department. So most, if not all, food service departments will have a purchasing manual. And so part of that in there, we have to say, if this, then this is what's going to guide our decision on how to purchase. And so one of the things that we can do now by law, the laws have changed because people have advocated for things like a geographic preference. So allowing us to consider the proximity of a product to our door to be able to make it easier to source that item. So instead of just saying low cost, it has to be the lowest cost, we can also say, it's closer to our door as well. So it may be a little bit more expensive, but we can, in a bid arrangement, so similar to like construction, you go out to bid and you go with the lowest cost is kind of the scenario. Instead of just considering that lowest cost, you can also consider things like geographic preference. And so our goal is to identify in our procurement manual what that geographic preference is and how many points on a rubric of a bid evaluation, for example, we would award to somebody who's maybe within 50 miles of our school district versus 100 miles versus 250 miles. And so we can kind of score vendors accordingly. So those that are closer to us are able to sell to us more easily.
Well, that's so neat. You know, if you haven't worked in a system that used a vendor for school nutrition, so a lot of these initiatives that y'all have implemented, I'm just wondering if they can be implemented with the vendor as well. Have you talked to any colleagues in other districts that are using vendors to see how they're
like food service management companies?
Right.
No, and we have not been partnering. Most of our school districts that we partner with here locally are self-operated, is what we call it. So we are district employees. I've not worked closely with anyone who is a food service management company, not in the last couple of years that I've been doing this.
Okay.
But yeah, you raise a good point. It is a different approach for sure, and I think it's a big key to figure out how they can do some of these things as well.
Yeah. So all right. So let's see. Maybe a second to last question is like what other ideas have been like swirling around in your brain and your team that like what do you want to tackle next? Like what would help get the kids even healthier food choices?
We are part of our goal is to really partner with those school gardens. I think that's the one area of farm to school that we have not really dove into as much and really create that cohesiveness between the school gardens and the schools. So, really taking inventory of which schools have gardens, which parents are taking lead on that, building the relationships with those parents, and using that as opportunities to connect the students to the cafeteria. Whether that looks like maybe us going in and doing a guest lecture in the garden, or potentially even making plans for them to help grow products for our schools. And that would be a dream. So that's our goal. I'd say another area is our physical activity. We've had a lot of turnover with our physical activity leadership here in Lake Travis. And so that's representation we don't really have on our school health advisory council as much anymore. And so I know that the person prior to me in this role really formed a lot of partnerships and relationships with the PE teachers to be able to do nutrition education in the PE setting as well. And so if we can hit them from all of these areas with nutrition, integrate it into all aspects of the school, it'll just become natural and habitual, which is the goal. So really forming partnerships and identifying opportunities to partner with the PE teachers as well, I would say is big on our radar.
Yeah, I think that is going to be the future direction, because by the time a student graduates from high school, they need to know how to cook and need to know how to grow their own food. Like, I mean, there's just basic things. Like everything we're doing with Interrupt Hunger is teach folks to cook, teach them to garden, create more opportunities for physical activity, more opportunities to give back and volunteer, and then just inject as much community into those four as we can. We can do that at local businesses. We've started doing that at elementary schools, and we have our first pilot program at a high school. And it's just fantastic. It's neat when you like all you need is a spark with one person, and then they're going to start brainstorming, and you can get the school garden idea. I mean, it could touch a lot of people because a lot of high schools have an ag department. They might have an architect department that could build the school garden. You might have a culinary department that could do something. And, all whether it is used to like let the kids just experience and take home, whether it's used in the cafeteria, whether some portion of it is used as a donation garden, which gets kids, come at healthy eating and nutrition from a different angle. They think they're helping people and they don't realize by default they're like learning about healthy eating. There's just a lot of different angles and perspectives you can come up with this. So I love the way you're thinking.
It's all about exposure. The more we expose, the more normal it is. We're creating a sense of normalcy around it. It's no longer the unique thing, right? Like you want to make it normal to have these healthy eating behaviors and approaches. And yeah, it's really exciting.
So last question, is there anything else we haven't touched on that you might want to leave with folks who their heart's in the right place, they're motivated, any kind of words of wisdom or anything you could share?
I think the biggest thing I would say is there's a lot of good work already happening, and it may appear that, there's not a lot going on in your school. But if you're interested in finding out, I'd say ask questions first. Go to the food service providers of your school district and ask them what initiatives they already have going on and see where you can plug in there and build that trust and that relationship and hear what their challenges are and see where you can help. Just tell as food service directors and as food service operators, I'd say share your story because people don't know what you're doing. And so school food has a bad rep, and anything you can do to kind of reframe that and say, hey, no, like we're only as good as the system that we're purchasing within or that we're operating within, right? And so school food service has a big uphill battle to face, but there's levers for change, and identifying where those are and those low-hanging fruit it starts with a conversation with your food service providers at your school district. And I just, really cannot overstate sharing your story. I think it inspires others to do the same work. There's so much great things happening, and no one needs to reinvent a wheel. I did not invent Carrot Crunch, but it has been a hit. Somebody else came up with a Cucumber Crunch, and I said, carrot sounds like a good word to rhyme with crunch. So we created our own Carrot Crunch. But no original ideas over here. This is all collaboration.
I just want to take a moment on this to share what we've experienced, because just being a parent, you want your kid to have the best, education, the best environment, the best food. And it's easy to see something you don't like it and complain about it. When I went and talked to our nutrition director, I would say they were pretty defensive, and we had to really explain that we're here not to bash you at all, but be supportive and understand your needs. Exactly what you said. And when they realized that we weren't there just to bash them, like, hey, this is a partnership, let's work together, they just opened up. And what we found is every step of the way, me and a friend have joined the district's menu advisory committee. I think that's what it's called, menu advisory committee. So we've gotten to meet more and more. I met one of our dietitians last night. Like, everybody, like, they have the absolute best intentions for your kids. They want them to be as healthy as you can. And they all have like all these creative ideas. And so I think back to like just in business and in sales and marketing, like whoever tells the best story wins. I think that's really good advice. And the next time I speak with our nutrition folks, like, hey, y'all got to tell your story better, because y'all all have like great ideas and you're all excited about food, and you all want the kids to like the food they eat. You don't want them to go home hungry. You all have big hearts. Work harder to tell your story. I love that. That's fantastic advice, Marissa.
Thank you. I will say, I think food service providers, they do care so much about the feedback from parents and students, and that's what really guides the menu. So giving constructive feedback, though, is key. And to maybe ask why something is happening before giving feedback on how to change it. I think that's maybe a different approach. That it's hard when, everybody cares so much and parents care. They want to know that their kids are getting great food, right? And so to really figure out why something is happening and being able to address the root problem, I think is really helpful for everybody.
And then just get everybody involved, whether it's parents and PTO and individual school administration and leadership, the board of trustees, and the nutrition department. Like, there's so many roles and interested parties. There's that's a huge collaboration that you can pull together. Thank you so much, Marissa. This has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and you let me pepper you with questions, and you've been so willing to share your knowledge and all the neat things y'all are doing at Lake Travis. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is case in point, or proof in point, I would say, because Jolly, I have a lot to learn from you. You guys are doing incredible things there in Boerne, and yeah, I'm really excited to continue partnering and collaborating with you.
Very cool. We'll definitely make that happen. So, all right. Oh, last thing. How can people find you if they want to reach out to you, or where do you post a lot?
Yeah, I'd probably say LinkedIn is where I post the most. My name is Marissa Bell. And the district, we have a district food service account that we use occasionally called LT Cafes. We're on Instagram. And then we partner with our district communications team pretty frequently to actually post on like our district Facebook page about our program. And that helps with our capacity too. So if we're not managing the social media, we can let somebody else tell our story. They tell it really well.
That's the job.
That
The
is
passion. Yeah.
at LTISD schools.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marissa. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jelly. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review the podcast on the platform of your choice so we can reach more people and more people are recommended this podcast. And if you really liked it, the single best way you can help us grow is by telling your friends. Now, for all the legal stuff. The views and opinion expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. For my day job, I'm an employee of AbbVie and appear on this podcast on my own accord and not in the professional capacity as an AbbVie employee. All viewpoints provided are my personal opinions and not intended to reflect those of my employer. If you have any questions or comments, please shoot me an email at jolly@interrupthunger.org. Let's go spread some joy, people.